So this is the first 15 plant idents, and the first plant on the list is the Acer griseum. It is a member of the Sapindaceae family, and its common name is the paperbark maple. The means of identification of the Acer griseum are it's prized for its chestnut brown bark, which peels, exfoliates in parentheses, from the main stem. It has dark green palmate leaves, with 3 ovate leaflets, downy and whitish beneath, hence the epithet griseum, meaning grey. Turning brilliant red and orange in the autumn, flowers small on pendant racemes, seeds are in pairs with winged samaras, which are an attractive feature in their own right. Some design uses: it's a specimen tree with bark and autumnal colour. It's also good as an architectural plant or low maintenance gardens requiring low pruning. This is quite an interesting tree, lovely colour. The leaves are nice in autumn, and the bark as well, which peels, which is an exfoliating feature for the tree itself. Some aspects, positions, exposure levels here with a hardiness of H5. Time till its ultimate height is 20 to 50 years. And its ultimate height is 8 to 12 meters. That's the Acer griseum. The next plant we're going to be looking at is the Acer palmatum variety dissectum. So we'll type that in. Palmatum dissectum. So we are going to look at this one here. Now, this one here isn't. This is a specific variety or cultivar, but nonetheless, it is still an Acer palmatum, with the variety being a dissectum. So an Acer palmatum variety dissectum. And the means of identification for this, it has 5 to 7 lobed leaves, deeply incised. The lobes are further dissected to give a feathered appearance, as you can see here. The leaves are hairless. The flowers are dark purplish pink, with fruit about 2 centimeters across with wings at an obtuse angle. Quite nice, gives a nice feathered appearance. The design use for this tree, it's a deciduous tree. Can I just add that the Acer griseum as well was a deciduous tree too. The design uses for the Acer palmatum variety dissectum is that it is excellent for a sheltered shrub border or as specimens for smaller gardens. It's also very good for containers and bonsai because of its slow growth rate. It can be used in shrub gardens or shrub borders, though to clarify, it's not a shrub, it is a tree, but because of its growth rate, it can be considered so. And I'm sure you can keep it at a certain size. So at what point does a shrub become a tree? That's the question here. But that is the Acer palmatum variety dissectum. The next plant that we have is the Sorbus Joseph. Now, this one, by far, is not one of my favorites. I don't know why that's gone and done that. Let's try again. Sorbus Joseph. see. There we go. Berberis juliani. Now, this isn't looking as ones on Oak Ridge campus look like, though still it is a Berberis juliani. Means of identification for this plant are the Berberis can be a deciduous or evergreen shrub, so both deciduous and or evergreen, and as a shrub, not a tree, with spiny shoots bearing simple, often spine-toothed leaves, and small yellow or orange flowers in axillary clusters of racemes, followed by small berries. B. juliani, Berberis juliani, is a spiny evergreen shrub which can grow to 3 meters tall, with glossy leaves which are deep green on the adaxial side, which is above the top part of the leaf, and a pale green on the abaxial side, which is the underside of the leaf, the back of the leaf. The margins are strongly spined, and the flowers are produced in clusters. The fruit of the Berberis juliani is oblong with white glaucous layer and is black. Now, I get confused with that a little bit. The bloomy blackberries here described on the RHS site, and their fruits produced in autumn. Do we get anything else here? Not really, followed by small berries. Not really much on that. The foliage is evergreen, though deciduous. I'm not too sure. Though I would stick with what has been put on the ident sheet, which is that it is a deciduous and or evergreen shrub. And that is Berberis juliani. The next lovely plant that we have on our plant ident is the Cercidiphyllum japonicum. Cercidiphyllum japonicum. Cercidiphyllum japonicum, also known its common name as the Katsura tree, with lovely shaped leaves. Now, means of identification for the Cercidiphyllum japonicum are its elegant pyramidal to broadly conical is that it is an elegant pyramidal to broadly conical tree, later wider spreading with furrowed bark. Vigorous shoots bear opposite ovate to rounded leaves, about 10 cm long, with a cordate base, and crenate margins. Leaves about 10 cm long with cordate base and crenate margins. Young leaves are bronze, then mature to mid-green before turning yellow and orange in autumn. This is an interesting part that the fallen leaves smell of burnt sugar when crushed. It's a dioecious deciduous tree, meaning that they have separate male and female plants. So a tree can be female and another tree can be male, but it's not a perfect plant in the respect that they have the reproductive organs of both sex within the same plant. Each tree has its own sex, hence them being dioecious. The flowers are borne in clusters from leaf axils in spring and are petalless and inconspicuous. Inconspicuous, and that's correct. Excuse me. The generic name refers to the fact that they are closely resembled trees found in the genus Cercis, and that there are only 2 genera in the family, diphyllum meaning of 2 leaves. So that's quite interesting. There are only 2 genera within this family, being diphyllum or diphyllum, meaning of 2 leaves, and that's Cercidiphyllum japonicum. It is a deciduous tree. It's got no foliage in the summer, which is interesting, although I'm sure it does, and in the autumn where it changes colour. Fragrance foliage. Fragranced foliage, that's quite interesting. Large trees with kidney-shaped to ovate leaves, often bronze when young, and colouring well in autumn. Flowers are inconspicuous. Plant range in China and Japan, where they originate from. They prefer north-facing, west-facing, south-facing, east-facing, any aspect. Quite interesting. And they can reach higher than 12 meters, which is quite tall, and they can take about 20 to 50 years to reach their ultimate height. So that is Cercidophyllum japonicum. Up next on the plant idents list, what do we have here? We have Cortidaria celoana pumila. So this will be a fun one because I have never heard of it. Cortidaria celoana pumila. Celoana. Yeah, it's not going to come up straight away. Pumila. There we go. Also known as pampas grass. So means of identification for this is quite easy, I suppose, to identify compared to anything else. But means of identification are mid-green, arching, glaucous leaves that provide an audible rustling in late summer. It produces plume-like panicles on pole-like stems consisting of vast numbers of small, silky spikelets varying in colour from creamy white to purplish pink. Cortidaria is derived from cortadera, South American Spanish meaning cutter, after the sharp leaves. Now the leaves are very, very sharp. I would not recommend running your hand along the margins of the leaves because they're very sharp, and if you do that too fast, I'm sure it will cut you. Hence the implication of cortadera meaning cutter. Design uses for this plant are that it is an architectural plant, provides excellent and distinctive form, flower borders and beds, cut flowers. It's low maintenance, cottage and informal gardens, prairie planting. Dead leaves and old flowering stems can be burnt off when too large. A good technique for rejuvenating old plants. I can't remember if this was the case, but I believe there is a somewhat of a vulgar association. I don't know if vulgar is an appropriate word, but an inappropriate association with this plant to do with swingers, so people who enjoy uh, polyamorous relationships, I suppose. That's one way of putting it. So how it's described on the RHS website is Cortidaria are robust evergreen grasses forming large compact tufts and narrowly linear, rough-edged leaves with erect stems bearing dense silvery or pink-tinged flower panicles which are excellent for drying. Now it is an evergreen grass, I believe. So a type of plant, large ornamental evergreen tuft forming plant. I think we would be able to put an evergreen grass down instead of all that. I should ideally have my sheet explaining each and every one, which I do. So our Cortidaria pumila is considered, yes, an evergreen grass. Not a problem with that. That's Cortidaria celoana pumila. So the let's see, Cortidaria is the genus. Celoana is the variety? Oh no. Genus. Pardon me. Bear with me. Yes, Cortidaria is the genus, Celoana is the species, and the variety is Pumila. Just wanted to clarify that. So just go over all the plants so far. Acer, griseum. Acer is the genus, griseum is the species. Acer palmatum var. dissectum. Acer is the genus, palmatum is the species, variety dissectum. And obviously that's the variety. Berberis juliani. The genus is Berberis and the species is juliani. Cercidophyllum japonicum. The genus is Cercidophyllum and the species is Japonicum. Cortidaria celoana pumila. Cortidaria is the genus, Celoana is the species, and Pumila is the variety. So, all subspecies of cultivar, I'm not too sure. I'm sure it's not a variety, otherwise it would have VAR, dissectum. I believe it is a cultivar, yes. Cultivar because it's within apostrophes. Up next we have Cotinus cogigria, royal purple. Now my pronunciation is not perfect. You'll have to excuse me. I am currently recording this. No, I'm not wanting to open that. Don't know why it's just doing this instead. You will have to excuse me because I'm recording this whilst I have COVID. Cotinus, it's not continus, it's Cotinus cogigria, royal purple, and we have that just here. Common name is the smoke tree for, let's see if we can find it. Well, yes, I suppose that this picture will do, where you can see these flowers of the tree that make it look from a distance that it is smoking. Not smoking a cigarette or a joint, but on fire. So this would be considered a deciduous shrub, and its origin is of Chinese origin. I'm just adding stuff as I go now, I suppose. Anyway, Cotinus cogigria, variety royal purple. Maybe not the variety, the cultivar, sorry. Royal purple. So the genus is Cotinus, the species is cogigria, and the cultivar is royal purple. Means of identification is that the royal purple is a bushy, large, deciduous shrub which can reach a total height of 5 meters, with rounded, deep purple leaves becoming redder in autumn, large feathery pink inflorescences in summer, alternate, broadly elliptic to rounded with long petioles. Inconspicuous flowers are borne on panicles up to 15 centimeters long, giving a smoke-like appearance, which is where the generic name is derived. So they're the means of identification. It's quite a nice looking tree. Sorry. Tree, shrub, deciduous shrub, to clarify. The one here it says it's a smoke tree. It is, however, a shrub. Don't let that fool you. The uses for this, design uses, is that it's low maintenance, so you can put it in a low maintenance garden, architectural, or shrub border, or as a specimen plant. It's very slow growing and got a very slow growth rate, though it is an absolutely stunner plant or shrub. and it's quite accepting of all aspects, positions, growing conditions, moisture levels, and pH. So quite a nice tree, quite a nice shrub to grow. I'm going to need to fix that myself in terms of calling it a tree because it's not. So that was Cotinus cogegria, royal purple. The genus being Cotinus, the species being Cogegria, and the cultivar being royal purple. The next that we have on the list is Davidii involucrata. We're getting into plants I have no idea about. But that's fine because we are here to learn. The handkerchief tree, as it's also known, or the ghost tree. Yeah, this is quite a nice one. It's got some lovely. No, they're not flowers. I'm pretty sure they're called bracts. The white that you would call a handkerchief is actually called a bract. Now the Davidae involucrata is a deciduous tree. And means of identification are medium-sized deciduous tree with bright green, broadly ovate leaves to 15 centimeters in length. That's quite long. Quite interesting though. Flowers are very small, in rounded heads, 2 centimeters in width, held within a pair of creamy white ovate bracts to 20 centimeters in length. The generic name Davidae, after Père Amand David, 1826 to 1900, French missionary, botanist and zoologist, while the epithet involucrata means with a ring of bracts surrounding several flowers. That's it's quite a mouthful, though I suppose it makes sense. So involucrata is the epithet which means with a ring of bracts surrounding several flowers. So there are several flowers which are surrounded by bracts, being white. Yes. Design uses for the Davidii involucrata. Sorry, I'm just having a little talk to myself there. The design uses are for city and courtyard gardens, patio, architectural, low maintenance, a great specimen tree, excellent as a very long-term planting scheme, and very popular street tree because it is tolerant to pollution. Pardon me, I do apologise. So you can see the bracts here, coloured white, with the actual flower here, which is inside. See, that is not the flower, that is a bract, which is something I did learn last week. Quite interesting. Next plant, let's have a look about it. It will grow in full to partial shade, any aspect. Exposure has to be sheltered though. It can take 20 to 50 years to reach its ultimate height. It's quite a long time. And if I'm right, no, ignore me. We'll stop there. So the ginkgo biloba, ginkgo biloba maidenhair tree is quite an interesting one. And the main reason why it's also called, well, it's not why it's also called, the main reason why it's also an interesting one is because the type of plant that it is a deciduous conifer tree, a deciduous tree that is coniferous. So it's a deciduous conifer tree, which means it loses its leaves, yet it's also a conifer, which is quite interesting for some, because most conifers don't lose their leaves and are non-deciduous. So that's quite fascinating. Now, I'm sure this is a very easy tree to identify. Nonetheless, we'll go over the means of identification. Medium-sized deciduous tree with bright green, broadly ovate leaves. No, ignore that. Sorry, that's the Davide involucrata that I was reading. And just to clarify again, sorry, Davidae is the genus and Involucrata is the species. We'll go back on to Ginkgo biloba now. Ginkgo biloba, Ginkgo is the genus and biloba is the species. The means of identification is a dioecious deciduous with thick, fissured grey bark, unmistakable flat, fan-shaped, flat flabellate leaves up to 12 centimeters, with usually a single deep cleft tapering to the stalk, and dichotomous venation. Leaves turn brilliant yellow in autumn. The plant is more conical when young, becoming more irregular with age. Unpleasantly scented dull yellow fruits. Not a true fruit because it is a conifer. It's not an orill, I don't believe. In autumn, on female plants, sorry, we'll start that again. Unpleasantly scented dull yellow fruits. It's not a fruit because it's a conifer. In autumn on female plants, so most cultivars are male. The fruits smell fetid due to butyric acid, but the seeds are edible in small quantities, and the oil a source of herbal remedies for memory, which is quite interesting. The design uses is that it is a great specimen tree, excellent as long as a very long-term planting, and a very popular street tree because it's tolerant to pollution. Yes, so on the RHS, unpleasant scented dull yellow fruits in autumn on the female plants, and female plants only. It's dioecious, so a plant, one of the trees is either male or female. It does not have both sexual gametes on the same plant. Position, it has to be in full sun, ideally, I'm sure. I'm sure it can go elsewhere, but yes. So it originates from China, and yeah, that's pretty much that. The Ginkgo biloba. And we'll move on to the next one. So to clarify, Ginkgo is the genus and biloba is the not the subspecies, sorry, the species. Up next we have the Hydrangea macrophylla. I think we all looked at that, but we'll go over it again. Hydrangea macrophylla. Apologies, I do apologise. Oh, goodness me, I feel absolutely horrendous. So we'll continue. Means of identification for the Hydrangea macrophylla. Just to clarify, Hydrangea is the genus, Macrophylla is the species. The means of identification: very large ovate leaves with coarsely toothed crenations, scalloping. This is what crenations are. Along the leaf margin. Inflorescence is unmistakable, a dome of flattened corymbs. Macrophyllous, meaning with large leaves or long leaves. Macro meaning big, micro meaning small. Design uses for the Hydrangea macrophylla is a classic border plant or specimen for a limited space, also extremely common in urban landscape plantings. There are a great many cultivars with many flower colours and colour combinations. In two majority groups, the lace caps have many small fertile flowers surrounded by larger sterile flowers. The hortensia mop-head hydrangeas group have large sterile flowers throughout, meaning that they do not possess the ability to reproduce. So this is Hydrangea macrophylla Wood 2095 or Cocoa, I believe, which is a cultivar, but this cultivar we're not interested in. We are solely interested in the genus and the species, being Hydrangea macrophylla, the genus being Hydrangea and the species being Macrophylla. We'll move over to our next plant now, which is the Nephophia ruperi. Nephophia, if I can spell it right. This is going to be the important part, is making sure that it gets spelled correctly. Also known as a red hot poker. Now, I think these are absolutely stunning. They're so interesting. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Just to clarify, in the Hydrangea macrophylla, you may be able to tell I have covered because I can't cover everything and I keep on forgetting small things, is that the Hydrangea macrophylla is a deciduous shrub. Now, the Nephophia ruperi is a herbaceous perennial. That's the type of plant that it is, a herbaceous perennial. Nephophia is the genus and the species is ruperi. Now, the means of identification for this are arching, broad, strap-like, deeply keeled leaves with ciliate to ciliolate margins. Inflorescence is tall spike. Inflorescence is a tall spike, a raceme with sessile flowers of orange to red flower buds that open to orange and fading to yellow tubular flowers and ripen indeterminately from the base up. Named after German physician and botanist Johann Hieronymus Niphoff, who first described the plant. So they ripen indeterminately, which means so long as the conditions permit and are optimal for the plant, it will keep on flowering until the conditions are no longer right, at which point it will keel over and keel over is probably not an appropriate word for it, but it will die back. Design uses for this plant is that it is a tall, bright and imposing. Nephophias lend height, vibrancy and drama to any garden. Fiery, torch-like flowers make vertical accents in a sunny border and work particularly well in a planting scheme based on hot colours. They also look great against a background of ornamental grasses. This is an easy and undemanding plant. Nephophia do well in coastal gardens too. I'm sure they do well in coastal gardens as they can cope rather well with the salinity in the air and or the soil. I do apologise. And we can see growing conditions here is actually more specific to what it likes. So growing conditions, the ideal is loam and sand. So if you have a silty soil or a clay soil, they're not going to be so happy, or may not even grow at all. I've never grown them. I have clay soil, so it's maybe worth a try, and I'll see how it goes. Because these are the ideal conditions for the plant, but that doesn't mean that it won't grow. It just means that you may not end up with the best result. But that does not mean and say that you can't try and experiment to see if it will work or not. I've been adding loads of organic matter to my soil to try and enrich it and make the soil structure and texture better. So that is Nephophia ruperi, a herbaceous perennial. Now the genus is Nephophia and the species is ruperi. Up next, we have the Leicesteria formosa golden lanterns, which is the cultivar. Sorry, I apologize. Probably shouldn't really be doing this. Under these conditions, though managing. So Leicesteria formosa golden lanterns or Himalayan honeysuckle. I have one of these in the garden. They're quite nice, though the berries do stain if they get on your clothes, which is actually quite rare. But my fear is brushing past them. They will. So the type of plant that this is a deciduous shrub. Leicesteria is the genus, the species is Formosa, and the cultivar is Golden Lanterns. You can see that this has an RHS award of Garden Merit, and it's an RHS plant for pollinators. And to clarify, for the RHS plant for pollinators, that did not mean that it was organically grown free of pesticides or herbicides. And I haven't done that for any of the other plants, so I don't know why I'm doing that now. But those, you can see the two little awards that it's got here. I apologise again. So the means of identification: a vigorous, upright, clump-forming shrub with hollow stems, emerging growth. My reading is atrocious at the moment. We'll try that again. A vigorous, upright, clump-forming shrub with hollow stems. Emerging growth is orange, paling to bright golden yellow foliage, all season and in sun. Leaves opposite and ovate tapered leaves. Inflorescences are pendulous spikes with dark bracts and white tubular flowers protruding in summer, followed by dark purplish, black fragrant berries attractive to birds. Though interesting because Matt did say that the birds don't like them. And I think I can agree on that point because many in my garden, I'd never see any birds eating them, although I do see this one specific bird eating the berries, but no others. The generic name is from Nathaniel Walich, director of RBG Calcutta, who named the genus after his friend William Leicester, a horticulturalist from Bengal in 1820. The epithet formosa means handsome and shapely. Design uses: coastal, cottage and informal gardens, patio and container plants. It's low maintenance, flower borders and beds. Himalayan honeysuckle, common name. Leicesteria formosa, golden lanterns. Deciduous shrub. The genus Leicesteria, the species Formosa, and the cultivar golden lanterns. I'm certain that that is the cultivar, yes. So we can see fairly low maintenance in its requirements and conditions that it likes to grow in, though ideally sheltered, so nowhere exposed too much. Next, we are moving on to the Liriope platyphylla. Liriope platyphylla. That's interesting. Which looks a lot like muscari, though it is not. So this is a herbaceous perennial, and it looks quite nice. It is evergreen, which is interesting, though it's considered a herbaceous perennial. So the leaves are evergreen, I believe, but the actual flowers themselves are not. The means of identification for this is an evergreen tuberous perennial forming a dense clump of narrow, arching, leathery dark green leaves with small violet-purple flowers carried in dense, erect spikes to 30 centimeters in height in autumn, followed by black berries. The design uses for this plant, the Liriope platyphylla, are banks and slopes, flower borders and beds, ground cover under planting of roses and shrubs, city and courtyard gardens, cottage and informal garden, patio and container plants. Apologies. So El Muscari, I guess it is actually, sorry. I'm sitting here saying it looks like Muscari, but somehow it is. It's an evergreen family Asparagaceae. Evergreen herbaceous perennial. That's the type of plant it is. I'm sorry, guys. This is just absolutely horrendous. We're getting through it though. Not bad at all. We have 3 more plants. So, it's an evergreen herbaceous perennial. The genus is Liriope, and the species is Platyphylla. Its origin is East Asia. Good for borders. But yes, its synonym is Liriope muscari, Platyphylla. That's that. It's quite good in all conditions, although maybe not full sun. From its position, exposure sheltered, and south facing, as we can see, because it's like full sun. The aspect as well is showing that too, because south facing, if you have a south facing bed or a south facing garden, it's depending on the planting of trees and such, it's going to be quite sunny. It's going to be a full sun position. So yes, maybe not full sun is ideal for these. That's a little bit too much for them to cope with, but you can see they're quite nice looking, very attractive, and they give a nice ground cover, I'd say. But they don't creep, and they're quite easy to maintain in that respect. So, Liriope platyphylla, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, what do we have? What is the beautiful plant we have next? Is Prunus. Yes, Prunus cerula, a member of the Rosaceae family. Prunus cerula. Bum 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 bum. Here we go. Common name Tibetan cherry. No, I have the wrong one here. That's not it. Cerula. Do we have any? Cerula. You know what? I think there seems to be a spelling issue here. On the plant ident sheet. Okay. Doesn't matter. We are correct. So yes, here we go. Prunus cerula. Also known as the Tibetan cherry. What a lovely bark. We see that, that's stunning. It's as if it's got copper tape around it, which wouldn't be so attractive, but yeah, it's absolutely sort of mesmerizing in a way. That texture and contrast in color is presented on the bark of a tree. Anyway, means of identification for the Prunus cerula are a rounded deciduous tree with attractive peeling, exfoliating. The peeling is always exfoliating. Peeling bark, a distinctive glossy copper brown colour with prominent lenticels. Lenticels. Not sure how to pronounce that. Leaves are simple, petiolate, lance-shaped and tapered to 10 centimeters long. produces ball-shaped white flowers, produced solitary or in umbels in late spring produced by cherry-like fruit. Design uses are solely a specimen tree. I suppose you could think of any use you would like to use it for, though for the actual test I would put a specimen tree because that's the only answer we've been given. I'm sure if you can justify another answer, I don't see why not. So the Prunus cerula, the genus is Prunus and the species is Cerula. And the growing conditions are fairly good actually. Maybe don't have it in a shaded spot. 8 to 12 meters ultimate height, 20 to 50 years till it reaches its ultimate height. And yeah, it's of spring interest for the flowers, as any cherry is. But that copper bark is just lovely, lovely indeed. And I think it's the same with the Acer griseum. Yeah, the Acer griseum, I'm pretty sure, with the peeling bark. It's quite nice, absolutely stunning. Up next, what do we have? We have Rudbeckia fulgida. We'll see. Rudbeckia fulgida variety. Sullivanti Goldstrom. So we have the variety in a cultivar. So Rudbeckia is the genus, Fulgida is the species. The variety is Sullivanti, and the cultivar is Goldstrom. Quite a nice flower. The Rudbeckia fulgida variety Sullivanti Goldstrom is a herbaceous perennial. And the means of identification, now it's very easy to identify solely by looking at it, but nonetheless, Rudbeckia may be annuals, biennials, or rhizomatous herbaceous perennials with simple or pinnately divided leaves and large daisy-like flower heads with yellow or orange rays surrounding a prominent conical disc. Goldstrom is a herbaceous perennial forming a clump to 60 centimeters in height with erect stems bearing narrowly ovate leaves and dark-eyed deep yellow flowers to 12 centimeters across. Rudbeckia named after Swedish botanist Olof Rudbeck (1630 to 1702), fulgens/fulgidus meaning shining, glistening, brightly coloured. So yeah, pretty much says the same here. Some design uses for this are flower borders and beds, cut flowers, cottage and informal gardens, and prairie planting. You can see it's very happy in all aspects, although not full shade, hence the aspect of north facing not being there. It's quite good exposed and sheltered, quite hardy in that respect. And yes, the Rudbeckia fulgida variety Sullivanti Goldstrom, being a herbaceous perennial. This leads us on to our last plant in the plant identification, being, what is it? The Sorbus Joseph Rock, also known as a rowan tree or a mountain ash. Now I'm pretty sure is it Celtic? Celtic lore about these trees was that you would plant them in your garden to keep away witches. Absolutely phenomenal use of the trees. So, means of identification. So just clarify, Sorbus is the genus. There is no species for this tree because it's hard to trace back to its original parent plant. I believe, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But there is no species, so we're left solely with the cultivar being Joseph Rock. So the genus is Sorbus, the species is not applicable here, and the cultivar is Joseph Rock. So means of identification is that a sorbus can be deciduous or Sorbus can be deciduous trees or shrubs with simple or pinnate leaves and clusters of small white or pink flowers, followed by white, yellow, pink, red, or brown berries. Some have fine autumn colour. Joseph Rock is an upright tree with pinnate leaves of up to 21 narrowly oblong, sharply toothed leaflets, which turn orange, red, and purple in autumn, contrasting with the butter-yellow berries. White flowers produced in late spring on corymbs up to 10 centimeters long. Design uses for the Sorbus Joseph Rock are tolerant of atmospheric pollution, ideal specimen tree in small gardens. Now, from my experience and knowledge of these trees, they're not the tallest trees, though they can reach quite a nice impressive height of up to 12 meters, but may take quite a while depending on their position. But they are lovely, and I do believe, from what I've read before, that the sorbus, or your general European mountain ash, I'm not sure of the exact species, um, or if it's the same with all sorbus, that they can support up to 60 different species of bird. Um, so they're actually um, a really good plant and or tree to have in your garden. So they're a deciduous tree. The genus is Sorbus. They don't have a species, and the cultivar is Joseph Rock. Absolutely stunning. Really nice tree. The berries, when they drop, they can be a little bit of a pain, but leave them for the birds, and they will thank you later on. Can grow in pretty much any aspect, any position. Maybe not full shade, but we wouldn't expect it to. And any sort of growing condition apart from silt. But yes, they are our 15 plants for our first plant walk. So I hope that is okay. And I apologize. I apologize for any sort of uh, pauses or coughs or anything like that. And I hope this helps anyone that uses it. But predominantly, I'm using it for myself and anyone that would like to use it also. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoy and have a good time. Thank you.